Some stories are meant to be forgotten. Others come back to find you. Subscribe now and leave a like to make sure you're here when the next one wakes up. Now turn off the lights. Let's begin. The hospital felt older at night. It wasn't just the darkness. It was the way the walls seemed to sweat, the way the hallways swallowed sound. At that hour, everything felt closer to decay. Elias walked through the front gate with his faded badge hanging from his chest. Same entrance as always, same security guard who nodded without lifting his eyes. Everything exactly the same, as if Elias had been part of the building far longer than he remembered. He took the stairs to the 4th floor. He avoided the elevator during night shifts, though he couldn't say why. In the nurse's station, one of the fluorescent lights flickered in the corner. A boxy old TV played a silent local channel, nothing but static. Elias dropped his backpack on the farthest chair and picked up the clipboard with the previous shift's notes. 3 stable, 2 in isolation, 1 transferred to the 3rd floor ICU, said Clara monotone. She spoke like someone who had just woken from a nightmare, or was still inside one. He nodded, skimming the list of names without much focus. There wouldn't be surprises. The night shift was predictable, or at least it used to be. Clara lingered a moment longer before leaving. "If something pops up from Block E," she said, trailing off. Elias raised an eyebrow. "Block what?" "Block E, never mind. It probably won't show up." She left in a hurry, like she'd suddenly remembered something important and far away. Elias stood there a moment, staring at the monitor built into the nurse's desk. Everything normal. Everything quiet. He did his rounds. Room 406 asked for another blanket. Despite the sticky warmth clinging to the walls, room 412 slept with her eyes half open and mouth gaping, as if breathing for someone else. The machines made their usual sounds. Soft beeps, distant clicks, the whisper of wheels from some gurney far down the hall. Elias liked the silence of night shifts. That was when the hospital showed its real face. A place suspended between life and death, where time moved at stranger rhythms, slower, deeper. When he returned to the station, he noticed something. The wall phone was off the hook. He was certain he'd left it hanging. The coiled cord swung slightly, as if someone had just let go seconds ago. He placed it back, took a breath. The alert monitor beeped, a sharp, unfamiliar tone. "Block E, Bed 3, technical staff requested." Elias frowned. What the hell? He opened the hospital system and searched the floor plan. Block E appeared in faded gray, a defunct wing behind the old surgical center. Decommissioned 2015, internal restructuring. No patients, no access, no history. But the call had come. It was there, pulsing on the screen. He clicked decline. The alert vanished. 3 minutes later, it returned. Same beep, same room, same request. Elias leaned forward, narrowing his eyes. "Glitch in the system," he muttered. The static from the TV seemed louder, like it had crawled into his skull. He went to find Marta, the night nurse. She was in the break room, sitting alone, fingers wrapped around a cup of cold coffee. Her eyes looked like they'd seen something the world kept forgetting. "Block E is pinging the system," he told her. She didn't answer right away. Then she spoke quietly. "Elias, if Block E shows up, don't answer it. But I'm telling you this with all the care I have left. Don't answer, that's all." She left the room, never touching the coffee again. 1:12 a.m. Another call. "Block E, Bed 3, technical staff requested." This time there was no decline option. Just one button glowing on the screen. Accept. And Elias sat there, staring at that solitary word, as if clicking it meant something more than just a task in the system, as if by accepting some door might open in from the inside. The screen flickered. Accept. Elias couldn't explain why, but he felt that if he ignored the call, It would just keep coming back, and back, and back, like something that wouldn't give up. With a hesitant click, he accepted it. Immediately. The panel made a muffled clock sound and went dark, as if someone had pulled the plug. He waited. No other alerts. No sounds. Just the low hum of his own breathing, as if everything else had been swallowed by the building. He threw on his coat over a thin shirt, adjusted his badge, and stepped into the hallway. The hospital was colder now. A cold with no breeze, no source, a chill that seemed to leak from the walls. He passed the deactivated surgical wing. The cracked acrylic sign still read Sector C, restricted access. To the left, a pair of double metal doors stood slightly ajar, held by a single loose chain. No lock, no warning. Just dust. Elias pushed the door with his shoulder and stepped through. Block E. Here, the hospital was different. Not just old, forgotten. The walls were lined with torn adhesive marks where signage or paintings once hung. The emergency lights flickered sporadically, like the failing pulse of something once alive. Everything smelled of wet paper and open wounds. At the far end of the hallway, one door still bore a metal plaque. Bed 3. Elias walked toward it. Each step felt muffled, like the floor was padded, or like the sound was being swallowed. He stopped at the door. There were scratch marks next to the handle, 5 long, deep grooves darkened with time. He hesitated. For a second, he heard something. A whisper? A breath? A scream from very far away? He couldn't tell. He turned the handle. The door opened with a long, wet creak. Inside, the room was drowned in shadow. The hallway's weak light barely touched the floor. On the bed, something lay beneath a blanket, still and silent. Tubes ran from the mouth and nose into an old, disconnected IV pump. Elias stepped in. "Sir?" he asked. His voice low but strangely loud in that silence. No response. He moved closer. The monitor beside the bed was off. The air was thick with stillness. The world had stopped. Then the figure on the bed turned its head, slightly, slowly. No rush, like someone waking from eternity. Its eyes opened. White, not cloudy, not blind. White as if made from something otherworldly. Its mouth opened, and without moving its lips, it spoke directly into Elias's mind. "I thought you'd never come back." Elias froze. The voice, or the thought, echoed through his head like an ancient, familiar sound. "I came because of the call," Elias answered, unsure why he was speaking at all. "You didn't come," the figure said. "You stayed." The hallway light flickered one last time and went out. Darkness swallowed the room. The silence in the room stretched beyond the walls. It wasn't just the absence of sound. It was as if even time had paused, holding its breath for what was to come. Elias couldn't move. The figure in the bed didn't breathe, but it spoke. Not with its mouth, with something deeper. "You haven't realized it yet, have you?" The voice echoed inside him. "Realize what?" The figure turned its head a little more. The neck creaked, but there was no pain. There wasn't enough flesh left to feel anything. "You've been walking in circles, Elias, checking patients, adjusting machines that don't work, answering calls that never came." Elias tried to step back, but his feet felt rooted to the floor. "They try to warn you," the voice said, calm, almost mournful. "But you're not listening, not yet." Elias squinted. Something inside him resisted, fought, against a truth that was crawling slowly beneath his ribs. And then he saw it. In the corner of the room, half hidden under a toppled gurney, lay a pile of worn-out folders. Medical files, old, very old. The dust on them was thick. But someone, or something, had clearly placed them there for a reason. He crouched down, fingers trembling as they touched the brittle paper. The first name stopped him cold. Claire Winters, night nurse. Date of death 2012. Cause, cardiac arrest, Block C. Elias blinked. His heart pounded. He opened the folder. The attached photo was unmistakable. It was her. Claire, the same nurse who had handed him the shift that night. Same tired eyes, same voice, same neatly tied back hair. He dropped the folder, reached for another, and another. Raul Henderson, nurse assistant. Marta James, emergency RN. Fernando Wells, night security. All of them, every one of them, deceased years ago. His breath caught in his throat as he pulled the last folder from the bottom of the stack. Its edges were stained with something dark, long dried. His name, Elias M. Hartman. He didn't open it right away. He felt that if he did, something inside him would give way. But he opened it. Photo ID badge, notes. Patient admitted in critical condition after cerebral hemorrhage. Location, Block E, Bed 7. He read it again. Patient, Block E, Bed 7. The hand holding the folder went limp. The paper slipped to the ground with a dry flutter. Behind him, the figure on the bed hadn't moved. But the voice returned, closer now. You came to answer the call, Elias. But the call was you. And then the darkness grew deeper, as if the dark itself had started to breathe. The hallway felt longer than before. The floor echoed hollow under his shoes, as if he were walking across the surface of a dried-out well. Elias walked quickly, eyes still fixed on the file in his hands. Patient Elias M. Hartman. Location, Block E, Bed 7. With each step, the hospital began to shift, subtly but undeniably. The lights flickered more violently now. Some were completely out. The walls, once just cracked, now bloomed with mold, black streaks, and long, smeared handprints, like someone had tried to claw their way out. He passed the observation room. The nurse station. Empty, too empty. No Clary, no Raul, no Marta. No one. Then he saw it. A crooked sign hanging from a single rusted screw. Beds 5B8. He followed it. The air grew heavy, and even his footsteps began to fade, as if he were sinking underwater. He reached the door. Bed 7. The doorknob was ice cold. He hesitated, then turned it. Inside, a bed, a body. His body. Elias saw himself lying there, pale, hollow, IV tubes threaded from his arm. His lips cracked, his face waxy. A dark bruise bloomed across the side of his skull. He froze. He was here. Alive, dying? He stepped back. No, no! He ran. Down the hallway, past the beds, past the shadows. He reached the front lobby, shoved open the doors. They opened. But on the other side, Block E. Same walls, same peeling paint, same twisted silence. He hadn't escaped. He had returned. He tried another exit, a staircase, a service corridor. Every door led back, every turn circled in on itself. Block E, Block E, Block E. The hospital wasn't letting him go. Or maybe he was part of the hospital now. The voice returned, but not from the walls, from him. The man from bed 3. He stood in the doorway, tall, gaunt, his eyes blank and white as dead marble. This isn't punishment, the man said. It's a mirror. Elias didn't answer. His chest rose and fell in shallow gasps. You didn't die when your body failed, the voice continued. You stayed here, in between, on shift. I can leave, Elias whispered, more to himself than to the man. You can, the man said, but not the way a body walks out, only the way a soul moves on. Behind him, the hallway lights began to shut off, one by one. And for that, he said, extending a hand, you must look at yourself. Elias turned his head. At the far end of the hallway, the door to bed 7 stood open, waiting. The lights flickered in the hospital lobby. It was just past midnight. A young nurse walked in, fresh badge, crisp coat, eyes adjusting to the fluorescent buzz. Behind the reception desk, someone waited for him. A man with calm eyes and a tired smile, Elias. "Welcome," Elias said, handing him a folded coat and a clipboard. "Where's Claire?" the new nurse asked. "Off tonight," Elias replied. "You'll be covering Block E." The nurse nodded and walked toward the hallway. Behind him, Elias watched. The doors closed. The lights above dimmed, and the hospital held its breath. Again.